Hello, everyone. New week, new Snap Take. Hope you're ready. I'm Glazer of the Snap Judgments podcast, and we just did a special Saturday video because I hit Infinite Friday morning. All right, in that video, which you can check out at the link in the description, you can win by commenting on that video a spoonful of sugar bundle in Marvel Snap. All you got to do is be subbed and comment on that video. Check the description for the links. All right, enough of that. Let's get into what we're doing today. We got a special cool thing. I just looked through like hundreds of decks to find the coolest, most different, most interesting decks that have hit Infinite so far this season. A lot of them I found through going through the Snap Decks right here, the Snap Decks Twitter page. Some I found some other ways. This is Elite Hasa's Infinite deck. This Hela deck has crazy, crazy high win rate. It wins like 60% of its games with an insane cube rate. It's called Controlled Casino because you don't need to pull off the Hela combo to win. It helps, but you don't need to. You'll note in this deck a limited amount of discard. It's really just 3 cards, Blade, Moon Knight, and Sif. And you're using Ghost Rider to get some of the stuff you chuck back. Cool. If you do get back something that's not, if you chuck Hela, you can try and get it back with Ghost Rider. You can also Odin on top of that Ghost Rider if you need to get it back. You can throw Jubilee. You can Odin on top of Jubilee to pull a Hela. You can also just throw Odin on top of a Return Doom, that kind of play. You can get extra discards. This deck is super sweet. Elite Hasa hits rank like 500 all the time. You can see his name right over here in the corner. Make sure that you're following him on Twitch, on Twitter. Like, this is one of the better players in the game and one of the coolest deck builders and human beings I know. So, Controlled Casino is the Hela deck in Marvel Snap. You've got to try it out. This deck is absolutely sweet. All right. Oh, sorry. Just so you know, we're going to be doing an interview with Hasa at some point, assuming that we can get our time zones in order about this particular deck. Next up, we have Attack on Geek's deck. Attack on Geek played a really cool version of Surfer. You look at the lower end of the curve and you're like, hey, this is normal. Well, it's got a Professor X and Daredevil in it. So it's playing a standard Surfer game of control the board and then drop Surfer, but instead of running the Storm package early, it ditches that and instead says Professor X, Surfer, Control. I was running something similar to this in Infinite last season. I called it Professor Surfer. I was running the Storm package to try and steal 2 lanes. If I could Storm 1 and Professor X 1, that ended up winning a lot of games. This one doesn't bother with that. It instead says I can throw like a goose in 1 lane to try and steal that. And then I can Professor X with a Lizard, Professor X with a Maximus, whatever. Know exactly where to do that with Daredevil, and then win a lane. I think I would be playing Jeff in this, but hey, what do I know? I didn't hit Infinite with it. This is straight up 70 to 100. Apparently, this deck has a really hard Zabu matchup, which makes a lot of sense, but Rogue does a lot of work for that matchup. Next up, we have Ryan. Ryan on Twitter didn't do anything completely busted with this deck, right? This looks really similar, except I wanted to highlight it because it's got the really cool collector play. The collector with Swarm-Making Collector, very often a 2/6 or more, is an absolutely stellar play. It's got the best, I think, bottom end you could possibly have for a discard deck, and it's got Storm to make sure that bottom end sticks. Once that does happen, your Dracula Modok Apocalypse combos win another lane pretty easily. And since you only need to win 2, it's an extremely, extremely powerful way to do so. This deck does have some draw variants, like all discard, but it is extremely powerful. You can get Morbius up to a 2/10, Collector up to a 2/6 with no extra real work, right? Because you want to be discarding cards anyway. It's just for doing what the deck wants. It's not like you have to save mana or something else. Nebula forces your opponent to play where you want, allowing you to go over the top of them if you choose with something like Dracula or Apocalypse, or just steal a location with Storm. Extremely, extremely strong deck. I'm happy that the collector buff is working out the way it is. All right, we're starting to get to the real spice now. Sparkles, KK Sparkles, hit Infinite with a Sarah deck with Darkhawk. Looks very familiar, right? But wait, it's running Orka? I don't even know what this deck is. It's running a Sarah deck with a standard little control package, right? It's got the Darkhawk, Rock Slide, whole shenanigans. It's got Storm to steal a lane. It's got Mystique to make your Zabu stuff real cheap. Um, or copy Darkhawk, as the case may be. It turns out copying Darkhawk last turn of the game, Sarah into Darkhawk Mystique is pretty good. But just that Orca is so spicy. I had to highlight this deck. Um, a lot of times, opponents are just going to be like, all right, I got to protect against Enchantress, Shang-Chi, X, Y, and this lane is empty, so I don't really have to worry about that because Sarah can't really go wide enough to take a lane like that, right? So you try and win it with 5, 6, 7, 8 power, and then Orca drops alone in that lane as a 6/16, and it's just like, all right, that's mine. And then as long as you were able to secure the bag in one other location, particularly good with Storm in this deck, you're there. Storm also, I found, works really well, not only obviously with Nebula and Jeff, but also with Darkhawk. On 4, they very rarely have something bigger than Darkhawk. They're very rarely able to take that lane. So if you can Storm Darkhawk to win, you could even Rock Slide on 5 and then steal lane with Orca on 6. Um, I'm going to try this deck. This deck looks extraordinarily cool. All right, Combat. Combat is another awesome Marvel Snap content creator. He's over on YouTube if you haven't checked him out. He keeps hitting infinite with the coolest cards. This is a Negasonic Teenage Warhead deck. This one uses Nebula and Daredevil to try and make sure you're getting that Negasonic off. It also can Professor X and Spider-Man to take advantage of that, and Gamora. So it's got all this predictive power. In addition, it's got the little Storm package. Storm is always a nice card. To prop Storm up, it's got Magneto as a little bit of extra help. You can always Storm on 4 into a Gamora on 5. You can Storm on 3 into a Negasonic Teenage Warhead and then get further into that lane with Jeff. You can pull things out with Polaris. Extraordinarily cool deck with an awful lot of really, really fun stuff to do. I'm going to tell you straight up, the only card I don't love here is Armor. That would probably be like Lizard for me. But hey, or even another Guardians card. But hey, what do I know? Again, Combat hit Infinite with Negasonic for, I believe, the 3rd season in a row. Just rocking it with this card that everyone says is not that good. But in Combat's hands, here we are. All right, last one is the coolest. And we're over to my Snap Fan King Koala every season. Hits Infinite with Quake. And we're going to be revealing that Infinite deck as long as King Koala is willing to post that in our corner of the Snap Fan Discord every single month. I've been playing this one a lot. This is one of my favorite decks now that I'm Infinite. I should have played it before because the deck is just sweet and wins so much. The key goal of the deck is to try and hold Quake till 4 to play with another 2. Ideally Star-Lord, but like honestly, whatever. You storm a lane and then you just sort of ignore it. You let them play into it. Instead, take advantage of your other 2 lanes. You Quake, the flooded location wanders over to somewhere else where you've already fundamentally won. All the while, you can then play Captain Marvel, Doom, spread out a bunch of power, really, really mess them up, go above them. If they've gone too big in that storm lane, you've got Shang. This deck is absolutely gorgeous, so sweet. I really, really, really think most of you should be trying this. Jeff is sort of a must for the deck, but besides that, it's pull 3. It's a pull 3 deck sans Jeff. So if you have Jeff, try it. If not, try it with Nightcrawler. You're just getting into a storm location, so you should be fine. This deck is amazing. It is one of the better decks I've played, and it is so much easier to play than Keen Koala's previous versions of this deck. Like, as long as you remember Storm left or right, so you can Quake mid, unless they've already started stacking mid, in which case you Storm and Quake mid. And you just say, all right, I've wasted 5. Oh, well, let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving while you win other locations. Cool. That is this deck. This is Keen Koala's Infinite deck for May. Again, every season Quake, and we're going to talk about it here. That's it for today. Please don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you comment over on yesterday's video once you've subbed, and you're entered to win a spoonful of sugar. Rumor has it, it helps the medicine go down. See you tomorrow, because we're going to need some medicine to deal with Iron Lad, who I believe breaks Galactus. Peace.